Yemenis celebrate the 59th anniversary of the 26th of September, the mother of all revolutions. Tim Litter King discusses with Kuwaiti Foreign Minister and Omani Ambassador to UN the Yemeni crisis. Government forces take up fierce clashes with Houthis on different fronts in Ma'rib. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Shaza Abdelbaei. In the 59th anniversary of the 26th of September revolution, massive popular celebrations have taken place nationwide, even in Sana'a. More insights on remembering this great national day is within this report.
There is almost a consensus that the 26th of September revolution is the mother of all revolutions in Yemen during the last 60 years. 59 years ago, the Yemeni people revolted against the Imamate rule and aspired to a new state where equal educational, social justice and work opportunities would be guaranteed, and the stratified society and the ruling on a religious legacy end. The torch on its 59th anniversary was lit in many provinces, including Sana'a, which is controlled by Houthi rebels, Ma'rib, which serves as the last stronghold and defense line of the legitimate government, Taiz, which is divided between the Houthis and the government, and the western coast of Tihama, under the protection of the joint forces and national resistance. Social media networks have turned into a large celebration square for many activists who still think that this revolution is still a lifeline. Activists have used social media platforms to tell stories of revolution heroes. Others launched discussions about revolution in a war-torn country which has been put on the list of the most miserable countries in the world. This anniversary came while the country is facing tough times and surrendering to a war which has killed tens of thousands of people, destroyed its infrastructure, and threw it 60 years back. From his residence in Saudi capital Riyadh, President Hadi renewed his vow to continue the struggle for restoring the state and ending all forms of the coup. Houthi rebels are still controlling the capital Sana'a, and the Southern Transitional Council is controlling the interim capital of Aden. Ma'rib and western coast of Tihama marked the anniversary amid raging battles with the Houthis on the outskirts. This reflected how these provinces take pride with this great revolution. On the other hand, President of the Houthi so-called Supreme Political Council said that the 26th September revolution gave its reins to bad and corrupt sons who have for a half-century been focused on their special interests. It seems that his statement implied direct accusations of the leaders of the revolution who held responsible for the suffering of the people today. The Iran-backed militia calls for rehabilitating the struggles of fathers and grandfathers through rejecting all forms of dependency and foreign mandate. Observers, however, argue that the militia installs itself as the guardian of Yemen and national resources under claim of protecting sovereignty and facing US-Israeli-backed corruption of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. Eventually, although the 1962 revolution was thought to be the last in a series of attempts to overthrow the Yemeni imamate, Yemeni's glorious revolution has suffered setbacks and plots that have almost depleted it and foreign intervention that have almost skewed its course. Despite all of that, the 1962 revolution still lives and will continue to do so in the minds and hearts of generations and generations of Yemenis in the days to come.
The 26th September Revolution is a landmark day in the lives of Yemenis in recent history. Over this, it has been faced with major setbacks. Current is that of Houthi coup. This report would shed light on the mixed feelings of Yemenis celebrating this great day amid Houthi rebels.
On this day in 1962, and in the early morning, the spark of the 26th of September revolution ignited. Young people changed the course and history of Yemen by ending the backward rule of the Imamate and declaring the Republic of Yemen by the voice of Al-Fusayl.
In the name of God and in the name of the people, starting from Tuesday 5 a.m. the 26th of September 1962, the National Army announces the fall of the monarchy in Yemen and the establishment of the Yemen Arab Republic.
In what resembles the historic referendum on rejecting the rule of the Houthi militia and adhering to the September 26th revolution and its goals, Yemenis celebrated the 59th anniversary of the revolution, each in their own way, as the cities under the authority of the Houthi militia defied the decision to ban celebrations to commemorate this great revolution. They set off fireworks and sang national anthems. Further, social networks turned into arenas for celebrations and rejecting the Houthis' coup against Yemen. Yemenis remember on this occasion how the September 26th revolution eliminated the backward racist front rule and what it accomplished in all fields. However, Houthi militia coup came to restore the regime of the Imams and the monopoly of power in a dynasty and caused widespread poverty and made more than 80% of the country's population today live on relief aid. At the same time, 7 million people are on the brink of starvation, and it is also working to restore ignorance after the divine educational revolution that Yemen has known since after the September 26th revolution. This caused more than 3 million children to be out of school, while more than 4 million others drop out of education. The consequences of the coup did not stop with that, but were disrupted by the war that halted half of the health facilities and the spread of diseases that Yemen had gotten rid of decades ago. Further, if one of the most prominent goals of the September 26th revolution is the establishment of a national army to defend Yemen and its sovereignty, the militias have worked since the coup to tear the structure of the Yemeni army and form racist sectarian militias opposed to the values of equality to be an alternative to the constitution and laws that guarantee equality and freedom for all Yemeni people. Paradoxes and indications to distinguish between the September 26th revolution and the September 21st coup, as they are two military coups, but between them there is a fine string separating prosperity and tyranny. The question remains, how long will the suffering of Yemenis continue? The only certain fact is that Yemen gets sick, but does not die.
U.S. Special Envoy to Yemen Tim Luther King met in New York Kuwaiti Foreign Minister Sheikh Ahmed al-Sabah. This came on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly meetings. The two sides discussed the situation in Yemen and repeated their strong support for the UN envoy Hans Grunberg peace efforts. They called on the Houthis to stop their offensive on Ma'rib. Also, Luther King met with Oman's UN permanent representative and discussed with him the importance of unified regional efforts and bringing peace for Yemenis. On the same line, Kuwaiti Foreign Minister Sheikh Ahmed al-Sabah said the determination of the Houthi militias blocks peace. He stressed that the solution in Yemen can only be achieved through dialogue in accordance with the Gulf advantage and the outcomes of the Yemeni dialogue. He added that the Houthi refusal to engage in the political process blocks peace. Turning to Ma'rib, where local sources said that a missile was launched by Houthi rebels targeting a residential area. The attack came hours after lighting the torch of September 26 revolution. The sources said that the Houthi missiles fell on populated areas in Al-Majma' neighborhood in the center of Ma'rib. There were no information on civilian casualties as a result of the terrorist attack. Dozens of Houthis were killed and wounded in battles that erupt on various fronts in Ma'rib between the government forces and Houthi rebels. A military source said that the fighting resulted in the death and injury of dozens of Houthi militias. He indicated that 6 crews and 4 combat vehicles were destroyed by artillery shelling of government forces, in addition to raids by the coalition jets. Yemeni officials estimated that approximately 130,000 children in displacement camps in Ma'rib will not be able to enroll in schools this year for several reasons. They indicated that the city schools have exceeded their capacity or located far from the camps in which they live. More on this story is within this report.
The UNICEF had warned in July that the number of children at risk of being deprived of education in Yemen could rise to 6 million. And more than 2 million school-age children are now out of school due to poverty, conflict, and lack of opportunities. And that 170,000 teachers have not received their regular salaries for 4 years now, due to the conflict and geopolitical divisions in the country. The Executive Unit for the Management of IDP Camps stated that about 130,000 children living in displacement camps will not be able to continue their education this year due to the lack of school supplies for the new school year, while Ali El-Abbad, Deputy Minister of Education, confirmed that the governorate schools are full and unable to accommodate large number of students. Therefore, students in displacement camps will not be able to enroll in schools. With these challenges, families are betting on the possibility of their children receiving education under the sunlight inside the camps, as the local authorities in the management of the IDP camps are seeking to open classrooms so that the children residing in these camps do not miss an academic year. Many of the displaced children are denied access to schools, either because the capacity of public schools does not enable them to accommodate those large numbers, or the schools are located far from some camps, or because of the lack of study supplies such as chairs and books. Many families cannot afford the expenses of studying, and there is another problem related to the lack of documents, as the students fled from their areas without being able to obtain their documents from school administrations. There are schools inside the camps, but they are crowded with children, with the increase in the number of displaced people due to the continuation of the battles on the outskirts of the governorate, as Ma'rib hosts 61% of the internally displaced Yemenis and has the largest camp for displacement in the governorate, which is El Jufaina camp that contains 10,000 families with a population of more than 75,000 individuals, most of whom are women and children. In a meeting with the Child Protection Officer in the UNICEF office in Yemen, Muthanna reviewed the situation of displaced children in the camps, especially in light of the start of the new school year, and stressed the need to activate the child protection in Ma'rib to guarantee the rights of this most vulnerable group in all humanitarian fields. He also met the coordinator of ACTED and discussed with him the current projects implemented by the organization in the field of water, environmental sanitation, and camp management. Muthanna reviewed the developments of the humanitarian situation in Ma'rib and the role of the organization in providing relief to the displaced, securing their needs and alleviating their suffering during the last period, stressing on the importance of implementing sustainable development projects targeting the displaced and the host community in order to achieve community recovery and contribute to reducing the humanitarian gap caused by weak interventions by organizations. International efforts towards the displaced in light of the continuing movement of displacement to the governorate on daily basis. According to UNICEF, this puts about 4 million additional children in Yemen at risk of dropping out of school, because teachers who do not receive their salaries are forced to leave teaching and find other ways to support their families. The UN organization said that the conflict has had severe impacts on all aspects of children's lives, but access to education provides them with a sense of normalcy, even under the harshest conditions, and protects them from all kinds of exploitation, noting that the continuation of children in schools is a critical matter, has a great importance for their future and the future of Yemen.
Coming next. Due to the ongoing war and lack of home gas, people resort to firewood.
أقول لك راحت بالغداء لأهلها شلت الغداء وراحت بالأهلها في المزرعة، والمزرعة ركبت على حمار ما حتى نص المزرعة وانفجر فيها اللغم، دعست على اللغم وانفجر فيهم. الحمار انتهى الماء ترفت بكعت رجليها كامل، نغير منها نغير الشبالة اللي هي البيت سابها من دور الليل اللي صافناها طبية أقرب طبية وصافناها لا هي بطلت رجليها كامل.
قلت أزود هلي وقابل لي لعب وطبعته تحت الزواية.
Welcome back. Lack in fuel forced many people in Yemen to return back to primitive methods. Sadly, these methods reduced Yemen's rich reserves and national parks. More on this story is within this report.
The high demand for forest wood in Yemen due to fuel shortage crisis has led to the emergence of desertification risks, threatening the environment and biodiversity. Al-Imadi Yemeni woodcutter was forced to cut down trees in the northern governorate of Al-Mahwit to pay for his own living, after the economic collapse wiped out the jobs that he was working in the fields of agriculture and construction. However, with the demand for firewood soaring due to the fuel shortage crisis, fears are now emerging that the humanitarian crisis in which millions face starvation has led to an increased risk of desertification, threatening the environment and any hope of livelihood for people like Al-Imadi in the long term. Bakery owners use wood and stones to light their ovens after they used gas in the past, as they have no alternative now but wood. Al-Imadi, who supports 7 children, said that the availability of reasonable quantities of wood used to allow him to make a living, but trees are now scarce. The 6-year-old war between the recognized government, backed by a Saudi-led coalition, and the Iran-aligned Houthi movement has killed tens of thousands of people and driven 80% of Yemen's population to rely on aid. Companies, businesses, and families have also resorted to using firewood instead of diesel and gas due to fuel shortages, due to the blockade imposed by the coalition on areas under Houthi control, including restrictions on the main port of Hodeidah. The coalition says the blockade is necessary to thwart arms smuggling. Abdullah Abu al-Futuh, Director of Biodiversity and Nature Reserves at the Public Authority for Environmental Protection in the city, which is run by the Houthi authorities like most areas of northern Yemen, said that 886,000 trees are cut down every year to feed bakeries and restaurants in the capital Sana'a alone. He added that the number of trees cut down in the past 3 years across the north of the country is about 5 million. In Al-Mahwit Governorate, which is known for its dense green cover, several types of acacia, cedar, and coniferous trees began to disappear. What people fear the most is that the country will turn into a desert, because there are manifestations of that. It is no longer possible to see the trees that covered the mountains. What is happening now is the uprooting of trees so that nothing is left of them. The battle is still not over yet, and the resources start to vanish day by day from the war. And at the end, all who suffer is the Yemenis.
Masan Project for Demining announced the removal of 1,755 mines and unexplosive devices during the 4th week of this month. The project managed to clear 5,785 mines and other explosives since the beginning of the month. The number of mines and devices cleared by the project since its start has increased to more than 377,000. In Aden, the Association of Money Exchangers gave directions to stop all local money transfer in the liberated governorates. The move came in protest over the increase in remittance fees to Houthi militia-controlled areas. Yemeni riyal slumped to a historic fall against the US dollar, exceeding 1,200 riyals. The National Committee Against Coronavirus announced 43 new cases of COVID-19 in 5 governorates. Committee officials said on Twitter that 9 cases were recorded in Aden, 24 in Hadramaut, 5 in Taz, 4 in Ma'rib, 1 in Shabwa. Also, 12 deaths were recorded plus 28 recovered cases. With the current updates, the total confirmed cases are 8,934, including 1,694 deaths. Here's a reminder of the main headlines. Yemenis celebrate the 59th anniversary of the 26th of September, the mother of all revolutions. Tim Litter King discusses with Kuwaiti Foreign Minister and Omani Ambassador to UN the Yemeni crisis. Government forces take up fierce clashes with Houthis on different fronts in Ma'rib. This is the end of the news. Thank you for watching.